It was a quiet, humid morning on May 16, 2008. Birds chirped over Sector 25, Jalvayu Vihar, Noida. Life moved in its usual slow rhythm until a scream pierced through the air from apartment L32. That scream didn't just shatter the morning stillness, it shattered a family, a country, and in time, our collective faith in the truth. Dr. Nupur Talwar stood frozen in the hallway of her home, disbelief etched across her face. Her 13-year-old daughter, Aarushi, was lying motionless on her bed. Her throat had been slit with almost surgical precision. Blood had soaked through the mattress and dripped down to the floor. Her head had been bludgeoned with a blunt object. No struggle, no signs of forced entry, just silence, deadly silence. The night before had been unremarkable. Aarushi had just turned 13 days earlier. She had received a new digital camera as a birthday gift. She'd used it that very night to take pictures with her parents. There had been laughter, a cake, a small celebration. By morning, that same camera would become police evidence. A house with locked doors and one missing man initially. The family's longtime domestic help, Hemraj Banjade, was nowhere to be found. He had served the Talwars for years, cooked their meals, kept their schedule, practically lived in the house. His sudden disappearance raised instant suspicion. The police arrived and declared Hemraj had murdered Aarushi and fled. Within hours, the media took hold of the story. Headlines flashed: teenage girl, murdered by domestic help in Noida family, betrayed from within. There were no fingerprints other than the family's, no signs of forced entry. Arushi's room was locked from the outside, and yet Hemraj had vanished. It seemed open and shut, but then came the twist. On May 17th, less than 36 hours after Arushi's body was discovered, a blood trail was noticed leading up to the locked terrace of the apartment. The door had been secured all this time. When police forced it open, a decomposing body lay there, hidden under a cooler panel. It was Hemraj. His throat had also been slit, his head smashed in. The similarity to Arushi's death was undeniable. 2 murders, 1 night, 1 house. Now the police had a problem. Their suspect was also a victim. With that discovery, the case shifted from a single murder to a double homicide, and the focus turned inward, to the people who lived in that house and had survived the night. Dr. Rajesh Talwar, Dr. Nupur Talwar. As police scrambled for answers, the media machinery began to churn. What had begun as a tragic story of a murdered schoolgirl now became a national obsession. Every news channel ran 24/7 coverage. Speculation began to fill the airwaves faster than evidence could be collected. Who were the Talwars, really? Respected dentists, educated, soft-spoken middle-class professionals, but behind closed doors? Was it honor killing? Some anchors whispered. Did the father lose his temper? Was there something inappropriate happening between Aarushi and Hemraj? Theories turned darker. Tabloids salivated. Television channels created full-length reenactments, complete with actors playing the dead. The grieving parents watched themselves being tried nightly in the court of public opinion. On May 23rd, just a week after Arushi's death, Dr. Rajesh Talwar was arrested by Noida police. They claimed he had caught Aarushi and Hemraj in a compromising situation and, in a fit of rage, had killed them both. The evidence? Circumstantial. No murder weapon was found, no bloody clothes, no witnesses, but the police stood firm. Their statement read like a script. Dr. Talwar came home late. He heard noises from Arushi's room. He found her with Hemraj. Enraged, he struck Hemraj with a golf club, then slit Arushi's throat to silence her. The media exploded. Viewers were shocked. How could a father murder his only child? A daughter he'd gifted a camera to just hours before. Some cried foul. Others accepted the story. The Talwars were vilified. Photos of Aarushi from her birthday began to circulate, juxtaposed against photos of her body. Speculation became sensationalism, and in the middle of it, the real question remained unanswered. What actually happened that night? Amid growing public pressure and mounting criticism of the local police's handling of the case, the investigation was handed over to the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI. The CBI team dismantled the Noida police theory. They called it sloppy, poorly investigated, and unsupported by forensics. They introduced a new set of suspects: 3 domestic workers, Krishna, an assistant at the Talwar's dental clinic, Rajkumar, employed by a family friend, and Vijay Mandal, a driver. The 3 were subjected to narco-analysis tests. In drugged states, they offered vague, contradictory statements. Krishna allegedly confessed, but under Indian law, such confessions under narco tests were inadmissible. There was no physical evidence tying any of them to the scene, and then, just as suddenly as they arrived, the suspects were dropped. The CBI team was replaced. A second CBI team took over, and with it, a new theory emerged. This time, they circled back to the Talwars. Justice is blind, they say, but in the Aarushi Talwar case, it seemed justice was not just blind, it was lost. The CBI closure report, a twist no one expected. In December 2010, after 2 years of investigation, forensic reports, interrogations, and character assassinations, the CBI filed what would become one of the most controversial documents in Indian legal history, the closure report. In it, they stated, "There is insufficient evidence to charge any suspect conclusively. However, suspicion strongly points to the parents, Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Nupur Talwar. They admitted they had no murder weapon, no forensic link, no direct evidence, yet they suggested the parents were still likely guilty? It was unprecedented." Instead of closing the case, Aarushi's mother, Nupur, challenged the closure report herself. She demanded a trial. She wanted the chance to clear their names. And just like that, the grieving parents found themselves in the defendant's chair. In 2012, the trial began in a special CBI court in Ghaziabad. The prosecution painted a narrative laced with drama. The Talwars were strict conservative parents. They found Aarushi in an obscene situation with Hemraj. The crime was of honor, shame, and sudden rage. But their case lacked hard proof, no fingerprints matching anyone outside the home. No blood-stained clothes recovered, no murder weapon identified, no eyewitness. The golf club theory, not found. The surgical scalpel theory, not found. The motive, assumed. The defense argued that the house had poor security and anyone could have entered. The investigation was mishandled from day one. DNA evidence was contaminated or ignored. The Talwars had no reason or history of violence, but the court wasn't listening to science. It was listening to public outrage. On November 25, 2013, the CBI court delivered its verdict. Both Dr. Rajesh Talwar and Dr. Nupur Talwar were convicted of the murders of their daughter and Hemraj. They were sentenced to life imprisonment. No conclusive evidence, no confession, no murder weapon. And yet, 2 grieving parents were led away in handcuffs, labeled as killers of their only daughter. The courtroom was silent, but outside, the media erupted. The Talwars were lodged in Dasna Jail, Ghaziabad. Rajesh was placed in the men's section, where he began offering dental treatment to other inmates and jail staff. Nupur, in the women's wing, worked in the prison dispensary. They lived in 2 parallel worlds, separated by prison walls, bound by the same unbearable grief. Letters passed between them. In one letter, Nupur wrote, "It is not just the bars that imprison me. It is the thought that I may never be able to say to the world, we did not do this." Outside, their families kept fighting. Their lawyers filed appeals in the Allahabad High Court, pointing to procedural lapses, forensic negligence, and lack of evidence, and the wait began. On October 12, 2017, after 4 years in jail, the High Court overturned the trial court's verdict. The judges wrote in their judgment, "The evidence against the accused was neither consistent nor credible. They must be given the benefit of doubt." And just like that, after nearly a decade of suspicion, shame, and isolation, the Talwars were free. But vindication came too late. Public opinion had already written its own story. The media, once quick to demonize them, now cautiously backtracked, but the damage had been done. Aarushi was gone. Hemraj was gone. And the truth? Still missing. Who killed Aarushi and Hemraj? Was it someone known to the family? Was it a planned cover-up? Or was it, as many now believe, a case lost forever to botched investigation and societal pressure? One thing is certain, the system failed. It failed a child, it failed a family, and it failed justice itself. Aarushi Talwar's face became the face of a generation's most haunting question. If this can happen to them, it can happen to any of us. Sometimes, justice is not what the court decides, it's what the world chooses to remember. From the very beginning, the Aarushi Hemraj case was marked by investigative chaos. The crime scene was mishandled with shocking negligence. Neighbors, police, and media trampled through Aarushi's room before it was sealed. Fingerprint analysis was delayed, allowing crucial traces to disappear. The blood-soaked mattress wasn't tested thoroughly for foreign DNA. The forensic team missed Hemraj's body on the terrace on day 1, despite the door being just meters away. The Talwar's internet router showed activity that could have indicated timing, but police failed to extract it properly. And perhaps most damning, no murder weapon was ever recovered. Was it a surgical scalpel, a kukri, a golf club? No one knows. For a double homicide, the lack of scientific evidence was appalling. The foundation of the case rested on assumptions, not proof. In many ways, the Indian media became the unofficial judge and jury. TV channels ran dramatized reconstructions with actors, slow-motion sequences, and ominous music. They analyzed facial expressions of the grieving parents, criticized their body language, and declared theories as facts. Aarushi's character was attacked. Hemraj was vilified. The Talwars were shamed nightly. News anchors spoke not with doubt, but with conviction. In a country where millions trust TV more than court documents, the damage was irreversible. The Talwars weren't just fighting a legal battle, they were fighting a war of perception. Despite zero prior signs of violence, rage, or patriarchy in the Talwar household, the idea that a father could kill his daughter for family shame became a popular belief. But in truth, this theory was based on a police officer's assumption, zero psychological profile, no behavioral evidence. And Aarushi, even in death, became a symbol of how quickly victims, especially girls, can be judged for their own murders. Often lost in the noise of the Talwar's story was Hemraj Banjade, a loyal domestic worker from Nepal, a man who died brutally, whose body lay rotting in silence while the country debated scandal. His family received little support, few answers, and almost no justice. To this day, no one has been convicted for Hemraj's murder. His widow waits quietly. His son, once a teenager, is now an adult, still unsure who killed his father, or why, so who did it? The answer remains, we don't know, and maybe we never will. All we're left with is a teenage girl who loved Harry Potter and photography, a trusted worker who served his employers loyally, 2 parents who lost everything, and a nation that watched it unfold, not always with compassion, but often with cruelty. The Aarushi Talwar case is not just about a murder, it's about how systems fail, investigative, judicial, media, and social. It's about the cost of living in the public eye, where grief is not allowed to be quiet, and silence is mistaken for guilt. There are 2 dead, and there are 2 lives broken beyond repair, but there is no justice, just questions. And so, the real legacy of this case is not a verdict, but a warning. In the rush for closure, don't forget the truth.